because I used to go out partying a lot before the kids. And she started doing these before midnight parties, this residency in London.
Mm,
So it's perfect. Actually, there were a lot of younger people there. I thought there'd be people all my age.
yeah,
There were a few people in there like 50 to 60s, like old ravers like me. Do you know what I mean? But basically, you turn up at 7 o'clock in the evening,
man.
no phones, or like you get a sticker on your phone, although some people were still doing phones, and you dance till midnight.
Wow.
And then I was at home, like I was in bed by 1, but I danced. Like, I didn't.
While you were dancing, I was running around with trying to keep Miles asleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How's his sleep? How is this?
You
What
know
are you
what's
doing?
funny? He sleeps like through the night fine, but some nights I think he's having, I don't know, like sometimes nightmares and stuff. So
Oh, really?
like, I don't know, like, but it's like last night he woke up screaming about a soccer ball. And I was like, there's no soccer ball right now. He's really into like all sports. So,
Wow.
so randomly he just wakes up. So like last night we also went out. We saw some friends and his daycare had like a little get together like at a brewery. So we went there. I'm like, okay, we stay up really, really late. So he's going to actually sleep late. Nope. He woke up at 7 o'clock. Even though he woke up every hour last night, he was still, yeah. So
Wow.
what's the point of making plans, right? So,
There is none. And also, I found, and I still find it now, mine are 18, they're about to be 19. But every time I nailed a particular age,
yeah,
okay, I've nailed it. Then they'd change.
it changes. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'd be back at square one
That's
with
what it
whatever the new thing was.
That's what it feels like. And then I think
Yeah.
I never thought about how much change, like they're changing, but you're changing too all the time. So it's like an
Yeah.
adjustment. So like I recently, like our newest transition is that I started a new job
Yeah. I
and
saw.
I was hybrid before, but now I'm like clocking in and clocking out. And that's a big change. And I've been experiencing, like a lot of guilt around like not having as much time as I had before, like in the mornings or in the evenings, and just a lot more exhaustion.
Yeah,
Like
bad.
I can't believe I used to work this hard. Well, I mean, I always work hard, but just like clocking in, clocking out 8:30 to 5 is just like 8:30 to 4:30 is just rough. So I'm still getting used to that.
Is it a job that does it fascinate? Is it interesting, the job, or is it like, ugh?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I work for a school district now. And it just requires it's a lot more mental work and working with
Okay.
people. But because it's only my second week, I'm learning. It's like I don't know. It's like when you go to the gym for the first time in a long time, and you're just trying to catch your breath, and everything is aching. That's the really hard part, and just trying to figure out. Um, how to be present at work, but also be home. And a toddler's like, "Daddy, daddy, 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 daddy."
Woohoo!
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the first week, I think I just like uh he wanted to play, and I was just on the ground, like, man, I don't know how I could do this.
Wow.
So it's been a transition, but I'm trying to give myself grace because, like, it's people's lives, and I'm really thankful for having my wife who is really supportive and obviously helpful. And I say this a lot. I think we talked about this last time. I think so much about our single parents who do this alone, like my mom. I was like, I don't know how, forget the income. I just thought just the bandwidth of having to cook and get someone ready and drop them to school and all of these things. I give my mom a lot more grace after, going through it only in 2 years because it's only two right now. So it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend the other day, um, her child is about to be 2, and she said when she walked in the hospital to meet her first grandson and her daughter, it was her daughter, and the first thing her daughter said to her was, "Oh my God, Mum, you're superheroes.
Yeah.
Parents are superheroes."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she just because there's no way you can explain it to somebody.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
literally, doesn't matter how many
No.
books you read, how many people you listen to, until you're faced with that. Because it's such a particular. So, okay, let's rewind back. Like the bit of your brain that you're using at work, are you finding like, oh, totally different part of my brain?
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. And I think because I'm back in education now, like really like in the throes of education. I feel like it's also making me a better parent. You know, I'm when I'm not
Okay.
exhausted, I'm a little more patient. I'm trying to explain
Mm.
things a little slower. I'm thinking about these things. But it's a different brain because like I said, I'm working with people all the time and I'm navigating a lot of personalities. So, you know, it's a putting on and then to be home, trying not to take that home is a whole different ballgame. But yeah, different brain for sure. Like, cause I'm dealing with like an adult and then coming home and dealing with the toddler and just trying to be present. I think it's the hardest part I think I've experienced. You know, you're right. It's the superhero thing is real. The superhero thing is real for the moms and dads for sure.
Is that what you did before Miles? Is that the work same
Yeah.
field?
So good question.
Okay.
So I'm born and raised in New York City. Um,
Yeah.
I was a teacher there for high school English, and then when I met my wife, uh, we um we ended up going to Ethiopia, Africa, and worked there for a little bit. And then she got
Teaching.
yeah, teaching. So I was a founding English
Yeah.
teacher there, and she helped run the school. And then 2 months into a 2-year contract, she got pregnant and was like, "I want to move home to Birmingham, Alabama." And in the throes of that, I found a ed tech job. So I was working with schools, but not directly at the school. And it was really hybrid. So I could make my own schedule. I was as long as I got my job done, it was fine. You know, there wasn't a lot of overseeing or oversight. You know, my manager was
Yeah.
like states away. So it was great because I was able to like pick up and drop off, help out in the morning, do the breakfast, all the things. Like any event happening at his school, I could be there with no problem, you know, and work
Okay.
out and do all of these things. And then
Yeah.
I got this role, which offers a lot more security, but it's a lot less time with the family. So I'm recognizing like everything is a trade up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
realizing no one has everything, and the people who probably obviously make a whole lot more millions. They probably don't have a lot of time to do with their, you know, maybe doctors don't have as much time as they want with their families, you know? So I'm recognizing in this season it's always a trade, but I appreciate so much more time with him now than I did before
Mm.
because like I got off work on, it's like spring break here. So when I got
Yeah.
off work, like him and I just hung out all day and it was just nice, you know, because I don't
Yeah.
get to do that as often anymore. So it's a trade, you know, always.
So you're not teaching, right? So you're an admin now. You're not teaching.
Yeah, I'm not teaching. So in my role,
Okay.
I'm going to be supporting teachers on
Okay.
students learning. You know, I'm like what they call it's
Okay.
called
So
like a
you're
content coordinator. So,
okay.
I'm helping with curriculum building, and things like that. So again, I'm fresh. It's 2 weeks. I'm learning a lot. Um, and it's different, a different kind of work that I was doing before because before I was like a contractor with the district, but now I work for the district. So
Okay.
it's a lot more skin in the game now.
And just to go back to when you were teaching English, what were your favorite novels that you liked to
So you know
teach?
what's funny? We at um at the high school I taught, the ninth and 10th graders, we didn't read a lot of novels.
Okay.
We did a lot more, how do I describe it? Unit ons, like we looked at how do I describe it? We looked at texts. Like, for example, we looked at different units. I would ask the youth students what we're interested in learning about, and we did things like it was an urban school district. So we did units on like gun violence in urban communities, or like rape culture, or like virtual reality. So it wasn't so much heavy on like textbooks and like author text, but more so of looking at like reading as a way for like liberation to talk about what they were actually going through. So a lot of argumentative essays, a lot of short stories, things like that. It feels like such a while ago now, but now in this
Mhm.
school district, there's going to be um, a demand for like, you know, the Canon, the Romeos, and all of those things like that too. So I'm trying to get back into that brain, of what it looks like
Yeah.
because I've been kind of removed from that a little bit. So now I'm going to be, you know, thinking a lot about, but more so collaborating with teachers on what that looks like. You know, yeah.
Okay. Because so back then and now, have you got quite a free hand in in filling the curriculum? Like, you might have to hit certain notes, but can you like,
Yeah, so
were you encouraged, did you have those classes and you were like, "Well, let's get the kids writing rather than reading
yes,
all
yes.
stuff they might not relate
Yeah,
to?"
yeah. Because
Okay.
I came from a really, really, really progressive school in New York City, which I love so much, and we were able to, like, teach what we wanted because we didn't have the
Wow.
pressure of, like, this high stake testing, because in the later years, they were taking, their SATs and ACTs, but in those first 2 years, it was like kids got to enjoy reading and writing, and we could take any text, that we wanted to, for sure, so, from Parable and Sower if we wanted to anything. It was kinda just free,
Anything. Okay.
which was nice, and I think here, being in the South, there's gonna be a requirement, obviously, for, like I said, and I'm still learning that curriculum. Again, I'm only 2 weeks in, so
Yeah.
I'm learning, w what the foundation kinda needs to be for literature and attaining that kind of, like, taste for it. So I'm coming from a place where I was able to do whatever I want in terms of the
Yeah.
classroom, and now
Yeah.
coming from a place where, like, there's an expectation, which is nice also. It's a different kinda challenge.
Okay.
Um, but trying to juggle that with, the personal life is different.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah,
And
I'm not writing as much as I used to because of that shift.
on Substack.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't have as much time, but I still want to because, that's the part that felt a lot more healing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. But as I'm writing on Substack, I'm doing the whole dads group thing, which is also another form of healing for me now too.
Yeah, I bet it is. I mean, and I wanna that's what I really wanted to talk to you about, but just to go just one more bit about the schools, because I don't know anything about I don't know about America really at all. I just, like,
Yeah,
learned a
yeah,
little bit. But is it more conservative? And like, in terms of the texts, without straying too much into politics, in terms of the
yeah.
texts you can choose and that kind of thing, are you a little bit more constrained?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
And I think my strategy as I'm learning is to use what was there already before and figure out,
Yeah.
because I think I'm using this first year or first 6 months to figure out what has already been done before I kind of push. Because I think, um, I was reading books like or teaching about texts that covered everything.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say this. It's just different here in a conservative,
Yeah.
um, um, state in some ways, what to navigate. So I,
Yeah.
that's a learning shift. That's a learning shift for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what works, and, like, thankfully, if the person who was in my role before, is going to be supporting me with that, so I don't feel alone.
Yeah.
So my biggest challenge for me is just to, like, I'm really excited about supporting, like, teachers.
Yeah.
But there's that work that you have to do on paper that needs to get done before I can actually do that work, or at the same time, rather. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine, like, when you're coming from a really progressive background and you're in a much more conservative community, you have to tread super slow and careful,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
right?
I feel that, and that has been a paradigm shift for me here. Like, not only at work, but just life. Like, in terms of food and the people that I meet, that I'm often working with, like, brilliant people here, but people who sometimes have never left the state.
Yeah.
Like, that's a different kind of, um experience that, well versed in what they know, but outside of that, they maybe never tried a different food before.
Yeah.
And it makes you weary on how to share your experiences because, you know, because you're brilliant doesn't mean you know how to empathize,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. And also their experience, although like, I come from a city as well, like
Mhm.
London. So we come from cosmopolitan,
Yes,
really diverse cities, but that doesn't make my experience any more brilliant, or do you know what I mean? Just because somebody
exactly.
hasn't left, but that I know, like, I can easily be prey to that kind of
Yeah,
snobbery or
right.
something. Do you know what I mean?
For
Like,
sure. Yeah.
yeah,
I think the most interesting thing for me is, I think I spoke about this last time. Coming here, even though I'm working in a predominantly Birmingham, Alabama, the city within itself is a predominantly black city.
yeah,
Obviously, myself being a black man, one of the biggest shifts were coming here. identify as Haitian, you know? I speak Haitian Creole. I'm a first generation American. Um, you know, my parents came here when in their 20s and 30s. So, um, and coming to Birmingham, it's a shift because like I don't know a lot of people. I'm the only, you know, Haitian American that I know, you know, or
Right.
Caribbean sometimes. So like people look at me as a little different because of, you know, like I may eat different foods or I speak a different language. It's like an eyebrow raise, like, oh, like that's different, you know? Um,
Okay.
but it's also beautiful because I think that the progressive ideas or my ways of being, forget being progressive, but my ways of being introduces like new things, like a
Yeah.
dad meetup or a different
Yeah.
language or me speaking to my kid differently and what that looks like. Um, I feel like I get to be a different kind of, I don't like, not the term like, but I get to be a different flavor for people. Um,
Yeah.
and, you know, they can choose to accept it or not. But it took me a while because I felt, you know, othered in a sense, even in my own community. Um,
Yeah.
but after being here for 3 years, it feels like a really strong way to connect with people now versus, you know, something I need to just like kind of hide, you know?
Well, parenting, it's like I can go to any country in the world, either whether I speak the language or not, and I can sit down with a mother and
Yes.
we can look at each other in the eye and we'll know. It's
Yes.
across
Yes.
it's across
Mm,
it's a global language, isn't it? So is that something you're experience in terms of like the meetups that you've been in
yeah.
terms of making those connections that cross over all those different
Yeah,
like
for sure.
nuances?
The meetups were actually birthed out of these dad meetups that I do once a month were actually birthed out of the writing I did on Substack and meeting so many people virtually. Like I was like, I wanted something in person, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I think you're right. Like I'm meeting dads who I probably wouldn't have met otherwise, but they're coming and sharing kind of the same stories, you know, a universal like being fatigued, feeling guilt, you know, feeling depressed or down, like those things. And I think it's beautiful because I feel like often in the media, social media, or what you read about fatherhood, it's like a joke, you know, it's something that we
Yep.
laugh at, you know.
Yep.
And I think I'm trying to center the conversation as this is a serious thing, you know.
Yep.
Um, like males have a higher suicide rate than women,
Yep.
you know, successfully, you know, hurt themselves more often than women.
Yep.
It's a real thing, you know.
Yep.
So I'm often thinking about like, what does it mean to support men and to see men in this space is beautiful because it's easy. Like we're laughing, we're drinking coffee, playing with our kids, normal things, you know. But I think it's nice that we're doing it together. I think it's usually that you see something that a group of mothers would be doing, you know?
Always,
Always.
mostly
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah. There's the um tons of blogs, tons of these things. But I think for dads, like we need our own thing. And then having this space is nice because like I meet dads who are stay at home dads. I meet dads with children with disabilities. I meet dads who aren't able to be home alone. Aren't able to be home because they work. I meet like the gambit, you know, and it feels nice because you realize like they're all having these conversations. I want to be there more often, or like I'm exhausted, or I need somewhere to just hang out. And I think that's the beauty in it, in creating a space for just us because it doesn't exist. I think the hardest part, I don't know what it's like for moms, but I think um, in becoming a dad, your relationships change so much because I'm not going out at raves at 12
You will
o'clock.
again when
Exactly.
Miles
Yeah.
is 18.
Or at 18.
Yeah.
But that's a
Yeah.
that's a long time,
It's a long time. It's
right?
a lifetime in a way. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, I'm curious for you. I mean, like those 18, 20 years, like the person you were before and the person you are now, it's drastically different, you know? And I don't want to wait 18 years to have a like just like have a life again.
No,
You
no.
know? This is the life, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I think about I don't want to have to. I know, like the beautiful thing about parenting it's selfless and requires sacrifice. But I think there's a world in which like the parent and the child gets to go, you know, and the meetup is beautiful because like we have a room now at the library and all the kids are playing, safely. But now like the dads also have time to talk to each other, you know? I know when my son was born, I was like really alone because I was like, I'm in a new place. I
Yeah.
don't have any friends. And I don't know who I can connect with, you know? But now I can physically go somewhere and my kid is with people his age and I can talk to men who are going through the same exact journey without feeling the guilt of, like what ends up happening, I think, in relationships, men often burden their wives or their partners with like the stress, the work, and the emotional load, and then the woman has to carry often the domestic labor, but then the labor of their partners. That's a
Yep.
whole, and I
Yep.
call it, I don't want to be like the elephant on my wife's back. So it's important for me to have other spaces to um pour into me, like therapy, but this dad's group that I'm kind of developing, where men have a space to just be themselves without taking up so much space at home all the time.
And again, I had this conversation with girlfriends. We notice that women and mothers tend to, and maybe it's just because the language hasn't been taken away from us, but
Mm,
by making it into a joke. I think it's really interesting you use that word because I think that's so accurate. Our language for sharing and supporting and all that stuff hasn't been taken away from us. It's not considered a joke. It's considered our territory. And so we
mhm,
have all of that. But a lot of the married couples, I know, men and women, so then the dad, yeah, he'll just he doesn't they and this is just like the groups I know. Once they become they weren't brilliant at hanging out with their friends keeping up with their friends in the first place. When they become dads, they become even more shit at it. They just don't have that thing. And so yeah, it absolutely, you're right. In this majority of them, you get the mums doing the lion's share of all the domestic work, all the parent child rearing, and
mhm.
the emotional holding. And so what you're doing, I think it's fascinating and beautiful and healing. And what I wanted to know as well about it was like you've spoken a lot about how your dad didn't wasn't the kind of dad that you are, but somehow you have the language and the knowledge, like where
Mhm.
you got it from, like it's this
Yeah.
innate God-given language, and you have had the intelligence and the time and the support to develop that. The dads you're meeting, do they speak the language, or are you meeting dads who are like
Wow.
day one in this kind of thing?
That's a great, yeah. You know what's interesting? I've been thinking a lot about that because my short answer is yes. And I
Mm,
don't know how it's becoming like that because I think it's because of how I promote it and where I share it. Maybe it's who ends up coming. But yeah, I feel like I have dads who speak the language of knowing what it's like to be alone, right? But I also, in my personal life, know dads who um are like they are the ones, contributing financially to the home, but they're not really present, you know?
mm,
But the
mm,
dads I'm meeting at the meetup, they all sound like and feel like me, if that
mm.
makes sense. And I'm
Wow.
excited because I feel like I'm in being this like-minded individual, it creates capacity for people who may not be like that, and we can support them in that way, Because I think what I often see and experience, like I told you, I see men who um, believe that their only job is to provide financially. You know,
Yeah.
I asked a guy a question one time. He's a friend of mine. And I asked him a simple question. I can't remember what it was. He said to me, "I don't keep up with that. I don't keep up with that. That's my wife's job." It's clearly this role of like, this is my job, this is her job, and I'm kind of like, huh, So I'm excited because I haven't met the men who like some of the men I met at the library. They're just naturally they're at the library anyway. Like, it wasn't because of the meetup,
Okay.
So, like,
Okay.
it's and I didn't even know about that, but, I'm creating an environment or, I'm meeting men who naturally are doing where I am in the journey, which means eventually we get to invite other men who, um, aren't like this, if that makes sense, or don't have that like you said, don't have that language, and I think what it does is, right, like, it gives the child a play to be, right? It gives men to connect. and hear
Mm.
different conversations, like, "Oh, I didn't think about that," you know? But then our wives also get a break, and I'm hoping when they go home, it's like, "Oh," like, when I promote this on, like, the Substack or Reddit, like, women are often like, "I gotta invite my husband to this thing."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's
So
like,
it's
"Go
like
on."
yeah, 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 yeah. A guy came, he was like
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, my wife told me about this thing," I'm like, "Great," So I think that,
Yeah.
like, when we think about healing, like, this work for me feels almost spiritual because it's not
Yeah.
only like, it helps all of us in the family unit, It's
Yeah.
it's like, I'm getting something, my son is getting something, and, like, mom at home is getting something, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that what I love about the group, for some reason, it's already vulnerable because I'm vulnerable and I share things, right?
Yeah.
Like, they end up sharing things too. So like, I don't like modeling, but because I'm just opening up, I think it gives permission for them to open up too, as well. So, I have friends, maybe not to meet up, but we're talking about intimacy and what that looks like, at home and how that changes when you have a child because it's not happening as often anymore. I'm like, I know it's not, you know? And what is
Nope.
and no, and what does that look like and why does that look like? And then we're laughing about these things, but in a way that
Yeah.
feels like safe because I can if I want to, I can go down a dark hole and think about, well, what's wrong with me? What
Yeah.
am I not doing right? Did I sign up for this? But you realize like, hey, I'm not alone in feeling this. So
Yeah.
we can talk about these things. Hey, what are strategies that we can do? Like, or when my wife is telling me these things, I'm like, oh, because we have a, open, honest relationship. I
Yeah.
can say, hey, my wife is sharing these things. Because I think when we don't have the language for what's going on, we create narratives in our mind. But if I could take that language I'm learning at home from my wife and bring it to the meetup, then they can ask their wives or ask their partners these questions and it can make a deeper level of conversation. So I look at the meetup I call it like a ministry in a way where like
Yeah. Yeah.
we get to like spread this love of what
Mhm.
it means to be a father, but what it means to be a present and supportive a parent for your kid, but also for our partners too.
Yeah, it's huge. The Church of Dads.
The church of woo, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't
It's
know.
beautiful.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting because I know again, I think it feels countercultural in some ways,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for dads to
Sadly. I mean,
yeah,
that's a terrible,
yeah,
what's the word? It's damning, isn't it, that we
yeah,
could have created a society. And I was thinking about this earlier, like, and I don't know whether this is character driven or I think it's maybe character rather than gender, but there must be a gender element to it. At what point did it become this very fixed roles? Because
yeah.
I know, like, not all moms I know are great moms, and not all dads I know are great dads, but I know a lot of really,
Mhm.
really great dads. Like, that whole idea, it okay, this is gonna sound like a stupid thing to say, but I'm just gonna say it anyway, that, like, it clearly comes naturally
Yeah,
to dads, to
yeah.
dad parent, like, especially the little ones.
Yes, yes.
It's like, and I know plenty of mums who are really like, "Okay, get me out of here." I mean, I loved it, and I was absolutely a stay-at-home mom, but I also really needed to go and do, like,
Oh,
other stuff.
biggest I think it's a secret, not a secret, but parenting is also very boring.
Yeah, it
It's
is boring.
it's so like I don't it's very it can be very, very like just
It's
boring,
boring.
And for me, like I tell Mike all the time, like, if I am alone with Miles, I cannot be home. I cannot be home.
Yeah,
So we have to go outside. We need to go to the
yeah,
park. We have to go to the library, science center, because I just cannot be home alone. Because he thinks my Miles looks at me like I'm his playmate. So it's
yeah.
always time
And
to
his climbing frame,
and it's
just
climbing frame and
yeah,
punching back on. So it's
yeah.
time. It's always so. It's definitely boring. And I feel like sometimes, like even I fall guilt of like romanticizing it. Like it's this beautiful thing. No, it's boring. It's boring. It's hard. It's beautiful. It's all of these things. You
It's all the
know.
things.
Yeah, and I think that and trying to create spaces like writing online and going outside with him, and creating this meetup is a way to really avoid
Yeah,
avoid the perfunctory routine of the same thing every single day. Um, which is interesting. Why I find myself loving it more now because I have less time,
Yeah.
which is hard.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
after 8:30 to 4:30, and then he's in t-ball now, like baseball, and then we don't have as much time, So, the time that I get, I'm relishing it now, you know.
Yeah.
To your
Is he
comment about the whole, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, is he in kindergarten? Because you both work, right? So is he in
Yeah,
kindergarten?
he's
Okay, got
he's
it.
in he's no he's 2, so he's in daycare
Oh,
still.
he's
But
in daycare still.
he's in
Okay.
daycare still, yeah. So, but we started him. He has like a proclivity for like sports already. So like we just
Yeah.
kind of put him in like different sports activities. So I'm full time working in the office now. My wife works from home.
Okay.
And then throughout the day he's at daycare.
Okay.
So we're making it work. Yeah, I feel like the I say this a lot. The world doesn't care about children because I don't understand how you're supposed to work all day, feed yourself, take care of a child, and do all this. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to go back to this counterculture, because again, that's such a great way of putting it. So does it feel it? So it feels what you're doing feels counterculture because, right, you're bringing
It's
the dads in to
it
do the
feels
role
so
which they're
it
brilliant at.
it feels so weird because like something like I was with one of the dads. We went out for like a coffee date, with our
Yeah,
kids at a coffee shop. And someone stopped by and said, "Oh my God, this is the most beautiful things I've ever seen." I'm like, "We're just drinking coffee with our
yeah,
kids." Like it's so just showing and it's just showing up and like it's interesting because usually I feel like I need to plan things out. Like even with this dad meetup, I show up, but the librarian is so amazing. She's
Miss
like,
Carla.
has gone above and beyond to support, getting partners, bringing people, and it's because it's sad, but it's not the norm,
No,
Like I imagine some mom groups would be like, "Oh, just come," but she's given us a free room. She's given us like all the best toys. She has some of these outside organizations coming in to like perform for the kids, and I didn't even have to ask. But
wow,
it's but I think obviously because she recognizes the need, you know.
yeah,
Um,
mm,
so it makes me sad sometimes, but also makes my job a lot more easier because I think that it's so needed. Which is it's interesting because in major cities like New York City, Atlanta, Miami, they have these dads club. Atlanta has like a daddy stroller club. New York City has
okay.
yeah, they have library. This exists already, um I started my own version of it in
Is it the
Birmingham.
first in? So this is the first in Birmingham
It
that you
feels
know
like
of.
well, I think there's many iterations of something, but this is
Okay,
this is this is. I mean, when I do something, I need to do it like as best
big.
as I can. As best as I can.
Yeah,
Like why not? Because
yeah. Why not? Why do you?
yeah.
Otherwise, why do it?
Right.
Yeah,
Because I think that, like, what the writing has taught me is that, like, whatever has been placed in my heart, like, um, is there for a reason. And therefore I have a responsibility to do it with an excellence because someone's depending on this, right? Like, I think about, like, what if my dad, I don't think he would have ever did something like this, but came something like this, how transformed that would have been for me as a
yeah,
child, you know? Like my dad wasn't there a lot, but I imagine if he had a lot of dad friends, who had toddlers, perhaps he would have took me there as well too, and that would have been a big, big deal. So I think about this like this work as like it's fun and it's great, but it's also important because I think that like this is the future, right? I think I remember when I first posted this on Reddit, this idea of doing this dad group, someone came in and was like, "Well, what race you have to be? What religion you have to be? Or can you be a gay dad?" And I'm like, "Man, just be a
welcome.
dad. Just be a dad."
Yeah,
You know? And I think what's
mhm,
beautiful about this space, I think, like it reminds me like what happens in a world when we truly center our children? That stuff doesn't matter. Our children are not looking at like the class, gender, race. They're just playing, right? It's when we get older, these very real things like start to separate us. Very real things, But watching like my child play with like everybody is kind of like this is what we imagine. So and as a result, we're forced to talk to each other, even in a conservative state like Birmingham. And again, Birmingham is also very progressive. I should say it's the blue dot in a red state.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
very progressive. I got to mention that, like super progressive.
Okay.
So it's like I'm not even mostly worried about a lot of those things, but depending on where you like a Reddit can feel very conservative. So, but the
Okay.
people are coming from like different backgrounds. Mostly for now, like it's like black and white for sure, but not
Sure.
50-50.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, it's the universal language of parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel like there are more of you out there, like than like? Do you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
in terms of you're really the majority of dads who want to share and feel vulnerable and need that support and want what you want.
I have to believe
Does
that,
does that feel like
I have,
yeah
yeah. But I think there's also the very real opposite side. Someone looks at me here. I had someone tell me I'm raising my son to be soft.
have
You
you
know,
had that said to you?
yeah, I had that said to me by a family member before. Um,
Wow.
and it was like because I don't, because I'm just, it's different. And I think like that bothering, but also understand like it's not his fault. Like he's been conditioned by a very, very an experience that taught him that like, oh, fathers or men need to be a certain kind of way. And what happens when he meets someone like me who's kind of like, if my kid's having a tantrum, I'm just waiting for him to finish so I could keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, like so depending on the lens of who's seeing like this work, like to you is like, oh, this is beautiful. Like this is a great idea. But someone else like, well, that's weird. That's uncomfortable. Like, why is the dad doing those things? I've had friends who I met here saying like that's different, which makes them interested, makes them probably wanna come. So um I know there's also dads that really, really like me who are thinking about these things all the time, but also dads who aren't, but also dads who think that this is not what men should be doing, you know?
I mean, I just got caught on that phrase you said that a relation said. What precipitated that comment? Was it like you have to give me the
Yeah.
details, but was
It
it
was
like
it
your
was
style of
sorry, go ahead.
was it your style of parenting, or was it like the fact that you spend a lot of time with Miles? Or
I think it was a disagreement I had with someone, and it kinda was trying to, like, low blow. I give my opinion a lot,
okay.
unsolicited. Like, I don't know if it's the New Yorker, Caribbean in me, an opinion. If
Yeah.
you're sharing something with me,
Yeah.
I'm telling you what I think. That's who I
Sure.
am. I don't believe in trying to dim who I am to fit in a box, you know?
Right.
And if you my thing is like, just say, "Hey, that's a good idea," or I disagree." Cool, Anyway, but I was giving my opinion on something, and he said, like, I didn't ask for your opinion. I said, "Fine." He said, "Oh," he said, I could tell you, like, I think you're raising your son to be X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "Oh, that's your opinion. That's great. Like, I'm okay with that, and because that's your opinion, And I think that's the reality of things. So again, I know, like in this space what we're talking about is like seen as something that's like kind of beautiful. In other spaces, it's kind of not because, like, you know, um, men should be a certain way. You know?
But it's not only beautiful, it's vital. In my
Yeah,
world, what you're
yeah,
doing and other men like you, dads like you are doing, it's vital. I
yeah.
look at the global political s-
Come on.
and it
Yeah,
do I need to say more?
yeah. No, no. And that's
Right?
it. That's it.
That's
Yeah,
it. In a
yeah,
nutshell, if
yeah,
all of those people out there dropping bombs had
yeah,
had a dad like you
yeah, yeah.
and a
Yeah,
mum like, do you know what I mean? Like a mum like me or whatever,
yeah,
like those of us or your wife, like who just consider it really important to make
yeah,
space and time for our children and
yeah,
listen and observe and be there. I don't think it's so big a stretch to say the world would be a different place. That's just a
yeah,
fucking fact, man. Excuse
yeah.
my
I
language,
no,
but
you're
like
good.
really,
No, I understand. It hurts
so
me.
I think what you're doing is vital. It is
Yeah,
beautiful, but it's also vital.
I received that. It hurts me to no end when I read like
Yeah.
all the stories of what's happening, Palestine, Iran, all of these things. But especially when I think about like the children, like the innocent bystanders, like all the girls that died in that school for what reason, you know? And then, you read the comments and it's just like, man, like we're just so removed, you know? So I think a lot about like what the world, really what the world could be if we just thought about the kids, you know? Yeah. That's where my heart is at. Like all of these things matter, but if we just center our children, what could it be? And I don't know if I'm doing. I don't commit to saying like, hey, I'm right and someone's wrong, but I'm always willing to invite like other men into the conversation. Like, yo, how do we do better? Because this feels broken. This feels broken. Like, so when I think about teaching, when I used to be when
Mm,
I taught in New York City, I was one of the few black male teachers in the classroom in the school. So I ran a boys group,
mm,
for the boys. And that experience was so like beautiful. Like, and it was just
mm,
boys at lunch getting together and just sharing. It wasn't a curriculum, it wasn't like lesson plans, it wasn't reading. We were just sharing and just talking, and at the end of the day, they felt that they could come to someone to talk to, and I could talk to them. So I think about like at every stage, like, before I got to who I am, right? There's a series of men, who poured into me or who didn't, who kind of taught me to think this way, and maybe that's indoctrination. I don't know, but I think that like the media is indoctrinating us, like, all of these things. I want to be a force of light in some way, and healing, you know?
yeah, which I think you are. And also widening out this, because I'm always really interested, like, I'm always trying to dig down into the bedrock between, the male and the female. I won't even say men and women, but the male and the female,
Mm,
those vital forces, the male force and the vital vitality and the
yeah.
female vitality. And because they clearly, yeah, definitely is a difference between
Yes.
those two polarities. But piled on top of that is all the conditioning of men are like this and women like that. And
Yeah.
and when I observe you and I observe your writing, so I get to know you through your writing, I observe you like digging down into that bedrock and opening it up and modeling that to the other
Mm,
dads and to Miles about, okay, well, just to like to give it like its broad headline. Well, this is what a man's like. A
mhm.
man is vulnerable
Yeah.
and he talks and he shares and sometimes he breaks down and
Mm-mm.
sometimes he's crazily happy. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
teaching,
Yeah.
again, is vital work. It's not just
Yeah.
like good
Yeah.
for your son, it's good for every human that interacts with your son
Yeah. Thank
as he
you.
grows.
Yeah. I'm just doing my best. Just doing my
Yeah.
best for sure. My wife and I think about a lot about, like the privilege it means to just have like both of us here, you know,
Yeah.
and having like like that balance of both energies in the home helps
Yeah.
so much,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just having, someone who's like, I think she's a lot more firm. She's a lot more firmer than I am. I'm still learning
Yeah.
I'm because of the abuse I've experienced, like when
Yeah.
I was younger. I mean, to be honest, I'm still learning what it means to discipline, because our parents didn't have the tools to discipline. And as a result, you know, she's a little more firm than I am. So I'm still learning like how to do that in a way where it's healthy. So, but
Yeah.
at least we're doing it together,
Yeah.
and I'm not feeling alone. And that way, that balance makes us like center, like, well, if she's firm, so firm, 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 and I get to be a little more soft, then we bring him to the center. Or when I'm firm, he can run to her. So it's like that's the beautiful having someone at home who obviously I love, but we're speaking the same language
Yeah.
to him, helps so much, so much. So I talked to her a lot about like parenting was like a series of chess moves, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do we like do this thing to position you in the right way so we can win this overall game around like life, and I'm hoping that, like we are, like you're saying, like this dad's group or this writing is just a way to, set us all up to be better for him and like better to the planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. I mean, having that balance, I know I was a single mom.
yeah, you're talking about, yeah.
So yeah, so I was, even though their dad is very much there, he was just down the road, but the majority of time was me. And so both. But I think I've said this to you before, but in my experience, good dads tend to be better at being like they bring the softness, whereas mums are. We generally just
Mm,
generalize
okay,
women. I mean, women I think are much tougher
I believe it.
than men. I think men are, and I love this about men, is that there is a softness. There is a
Yeah,
much more emotional. And I mean, this is my experience. If I just
yeah,
cast around my friends and the people I know, like maybe I'm just talking about me, but we are hard as nails.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that. I don't know. It's different here what I experience instead of the men.
Mm,
Like I wish I knew more men. Well, the men that I know now, dad's group in
mm,
our personal life, I feel like I've curated like I one of my closest friends, you know, his kids don't live with him anymore. And like we talk about how difficult that is for him, you know? And he was like, sometimes he just comes home after he had them for the weekend and the house is just quiet and like how that feels. I'm just like, wow. Like I never thought I'm like, man, you must get a I was like, my guess was you must feel like you get a break. It's like, no, man, I don't. Like I miss my kids. Like the um or I read somewhere like some men who are experiencing this, like sometimes they close their kid's door when they're away with their mom and play the TV so they act like they're there. Like men are so like
mm,
we feel alone, in these
mm,
spaces a lot. And,
yeah,
I share this to say like I don't meet a lot of men who are often like vulnerable in that sense, you know? So
yeah,
I'm trying to curate that is kind of cool. But you're right. I do my wife is definitely the firm one for sure. She's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, hard.
yeah,
Yeah, and that language again, I mean, that language, and I know men's groups here, and I have a friend actually who started because the suicide rate for men in the UK is exactly,
yeah.
it's the highest, but in men, young men in their sort of 20s, and then you get it again in their kind of 50s. And tragically, she lost her son. So she set up a charity called James's Place in the UK. And anybody
Mm,
listening, actually, if you're in the UK, James's Place is for men only. And there are 3 centres and they're walk in and you get
mm,
unlimited care, but she had to fight really hard when it came to funding to
mm.
keep it only for men.
Wow.
Yeah, which
Wow.
even though the stats absolutely point at it being an epidemic, she still had to really fight for it, which was just so, I don't know. I mean, at the moment, like I was thinking about talking to you earlier, I was just thinking about it, and I was like, however much women have been through, and my God, we've had 5,000 years of trying to make us suppress us, and a nightmare
Hmm.
is underestimate it. Um, but it's not women I worry about right now. Like my
Yeah.
female friends, we're okay. We are fighting fit. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
and 2,000 years of trying to make us suppress us, and we still have not.
Yeah.
We will not lie down. But I do worry about men.
Yeah.
I really do, because I know the language has been taken away. I don't know
Hmm.
when men had the language and when it was taken away, but it
Mm,
was clearly taken away and I think about, I went through, it was a really like a horrible divorce and we were
mm,
horrible to each other. We fought for 2 years through the courts. And the boys, or Jacoby and Blake, kind of grew up with me mainly, and their dad was around. But now, here we are, like 20 years later, and I'm able to have love and compassion for
mm,
him now that I couldn't have at the time. And now, when I hear you talk about those dads who have to send their kids back to the mum, divorced dad, and I think about him, and my heart hurts for him because he
mm.
will have been through exactly that without any of those resources that we have on tap.
Yeah.
Women do have those,
Yes.
we do, and he didn't. And I'm conscious now of that loneliness.
Yeah.
And loneliness is a killer.
Yes.
It's literally
Yes.
a killer, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Right.
And you could be lonely with a house full of people,
Right.
you know?
You could be
I think
lonely
I
in a
think I
marriage. Yeah.
I think yeah, in a marriage, yeah, I think I experienced it too. I feel like I went through my depression was like, watching the woman I love love the son we just brought into this world. And I'm like,
More.
more, more.
More.
Yeah, and having the capacity to be like, and I think I talked about this with someone else before. Like, I was jealous.
Yeah.
I was so jealous. I'm like, he stole something from me,
He's stolen my woman.
He stole my woman, and I think I don't know, like, I don't I need to read more about that for sure, but like that's a real thing. I have a question
Yeah.
to ask you. You
Yeah.
mentioned twice or maybe 3 times now the language that was taken from us. Can you explain? What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, because the language that women we've retained, one of the things we've managed to hang on to is the language of emotions
Mm,
sharing. We easily say how we feel, we easily unpack it. I mean, I'm talking about the women I know. So
yeah.
but it seems like we never lost that language, that global language of emotion and feeling and sharing. Whereas it seems to me that I will sit down with a friend, like hang out with a male friend, and it takes quite a lot before he might finally say, I'm lonely, or
Mm,
I'm depressed, I am
mm,
heartbroken, or any of those. And that's just like page
yeah.
one of the most simple, let
Yes.
alone the stuff that we get into as women. When women get together, we can get so deep down it so
Yes.
quickly and easily, even to
Mm,
a woman I've never met in my life, because we have
wow.
this language. So I hadn't thought about it in terms of that before talking to you, but that it feels to me like that's a language that, because men must have, I don't know how far
Yes.
back you have to go,
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
but
Yes.
there must have been a time
Yeah.
before the patriarchy decided on these arbitrary and reductive roles for
Yes.
us, limiting,
My therapist and I
right?
talk about this a lot, and we say like,
Yeah.
you know, in some way of being like, I'm gonna say me, and this is a really nasty metaphor, but we call it castration, right? Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
literally cut off our emotions,
Yeah.
you know. And I remember even when my son was born, like telling myself some really dark things to get
Okay.
through the night. If that makes sense, you know, like you, I don't, yeah, yeah, you tell yourself some dark things to get through, like like nobody cares how you feel, like man up, like suck it up, like no one needs to hear this, a man's supposed to like you. I was telling myself these things because I felt so alone, no one to talk to, and then I was, going through like a form of depression or loneliness to kind of coach myself, you know, to keep this in because like my wife is going through her own journey, her own postpartum. Like, men are going through it too, but that's not
Mm.
real. Like you didn't birth a child. No one wants to hear about how men is feeling when a child comes because it's not about you anymore. So I had to tell myself some things in that time period to like get myself through. It wasn't healthy at all. But you're
Mm.
right though, and I remember talking to my therapist, you know, like what you're saying, like how you feeling right now? Like, what do you mean how I feel? I don't know. Like I
Mm.
don't have the I'm like, is there a chart? Can you show me a chart so I
Yeah.
can point to the emotion, And
Yeah.
so yeah, I see what you mean by that that the language of being is lost or taken away, and I think that
Mm.
I don't know how or where, but I imagine these constructs of who we are supposed to be has taken it from us, or we allowed it to take it from us. And I think that I guess I'm just trying to claim it back,
Yeah.
take it back for sure.
Because somewhere in your DNA and in my DNA, and somewhere in your DNA is the how to parent, and somewhere in there is the language of. I mean, feelings and emotions. Does it feel that feels a bit too
Hmm.
simplistic a title for the language we're talking about? But we know what we're talking about. Whatever that
Yes.
language is, that allows you to get into your heart and your
Yes.
kidneys and your liver and your
Yes.
knees, every part of your body, and be, because it is so vulnerable to be completely embodied and be really like, oh, how do I feel? It's because you have to be totally present.
Yeah.
And it is all of the things that I know, this is me, I use. Like I thought the other day, if I checked in on myself as much as I check in on WhatsApp, I'd
Mm.
have like a lot
Yeah.
more information. But I
Yes.
do, I'm just like, oh, how am I? And as I check in on that place and sink down, then the language emerges. And that's the
Hmm.
language I'm talking about, that has been
Yeah.
taken, it seems,
That
yeah,
makes
from men.
sense.
And I mean, if you look at men in the army and men in any of those, there is no space understandably, because you definitely can't shoot someone if you're in touch with your feelings. Is that too
Oof.
simplistic?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that was, yeah, right. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and talking about like loss and feelings, I wanted to ask. I had another question I wanted to ask you because last time we spoke,
Mm,
it was around a little bit around your mom passing away.
yeah.
Um, and I was like, I want to talk to you because I'm 34 now. Obviously, a lot older. But I think I just hit the point in my life where I'm about to experience a lot of loss around me.
Mm.
Like people are getting older. I found out my uncle, a man that I love so dearly, who I feel like he's not really my uncle, but he's an uncle and dad to me. I found out he had a stroke on Tuesday.
Oh, I'm so
And it
sorry.
was the first time seeing like it's like watching this the first time watching Superman get hurt. It's like my mind is not even able to conceive him being like hurt. Makes me more so just think about it. But I wanted to
Mm.
ask you, I mean he's okay, but it's a foreshadow precursor to like that a reminder that like our bodies will fail us, you know? And my question kind of want to ask you is like, as someone who has experienced loss, speaking to a younger person who is going to experience that a lot, what has supported you in the journey of grief? And how would you support other people who are like going through grief?
Well, one of the things I've learned about it, because I had kind of I had three sets of grief this year.
Mm,
My mom died, and then my kids left home, and then my relationship ended.
mhm,
So three different kinds of grief, but they kind of piled up into what grief is grief, and they all kind of bowled up into each other. Like, because me and my mom weren't particularly close, but there was I'll get into the bit about her because it has been hugely profound. But one of the things I've really understood about grief over the last 9 months is it takes its sweet time
mm,
and there is nothing you can do about it.
mm,
Like, sometimes I just thought, will I ever stop crying?
mm,
And you, it felt like, no, and then, and it also waves, it calmed, and then you go through a bit, and then you come into the next bit, and it's,
mm,
and allowing, like, not trying to cut it short. Like, I'm done with that now. Do you know what I mean? That's a mistake because it is this beautiful, it's such a holy, sacred practice, experience, really. Like getting
mm,
into, once grief really hits and I allow myself to be really in it and not try and hurry it along, because actually it is finite and it doesn't last forever. And actually, really allowing it means it passes in the time it's allotted itself to
mm,
pass. But once you really get into it, it's such a it's such a it's such a teacher. It's such a growing. There's such a wisdom in it. There's such an incredible peace in it. There's such connection in it. It's one of the holiest
mm,
practices, really, experiences, but you kind of practice it. That's what it feels like, a holy practice once you get into it, because it's a bit like childbirth. Like, once it happens, once
wow,
those contractions start, you cannot stop it,
wow.
right? And that's like grief. Once it happens, you cannot stop it. But unlike childbirth, we have this really reductive capacity as humans to try and bolt everything down. And if you do that,
Mm,
you get ill.
yeah. Oof.
And you don't get to experience this holy, sacred
Mm,
process, that in the process of that grief, especially for us, like if we just focus on a parent or the elders,
yeah.
like the process of grieving elders is the process of you rising to the top of the tree. Like, there's no one above me
Mm,
now.
mm.
I'm at the top of the tree.
The matriarch.
And
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and that was a deeply, like, I had to, like, whoa,
Wow.
it was a moment of like, wow, there's no one above me. That's weird. I really had to hold on for a minute, you
Wow.
know. But the process of grief, my experience is that if you really just allow it to take the time it takes, it's rising you to that place where you can then be the elder,
Wow.
hopefully wise, and sit and be grateful for it because, it's either old or dead. We all know that. Like, that's the choice.
Yeah.
So be really grateful for it. So, and with my mom, it was profound. I've written about this. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll say it. I didn't have my mom and my dad are both totally absent. And I
Mm,
understand, they were like children of the war. So, talking of like not being in your feelings, that was a survival mechanism. And
mm.
everyone in my generation in the UK certainly has the same kind of parents. But I sat at her deathbed, and the day before she died, she'd already stopped speaking, her eyes were closed. The day before she died, I happened to be sitting there, she suddenly sat up, she took my face in her hands, she looked at me, Mark, like, oh my God, it's you. For the first time in 55 years, she saw
Wow.
me. Saw me.
Mm.
I knew she saw me because I was felt seen. Kissed my forehead, put me away again, looked at me like, oh my God, it's you. Did it again, and then closed her eyes and then died the next day. Like,
Wow.
and it solved. I mean, I can only pray that you have that experience with your dad and any other caregiver of your childhood with whom you've got unresolved issues, because it completely healed. I mean, it's rare in life that I can say something like it just,
Mm,
it was absolutely extraordinary. So then when she died, there was a peace and a liberation. We had no more beef with each other.
mm, 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 mm.
Um, yeah, yeah.
I love how you describe this as like rising to top, like this, and it
Mm.
makes me wonder because my wife lost both parents already
Mm.
in the period of like
So sorry.
2 years.
Please.
And
Oh,
like I think about like, it sounds like you had the time and the space to, and you know, not to make light, but a toddler doesn't care about grief, you know?
yeah.
um, so I think about like her a lot and, her not being able to grieve the loss of her parents because
Yeah.
in the immediacy we have a toddler,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love the framing of like, hey, it'll take time because I've seen her go through moments of like, oh, she's grieving right there. And just being able to sit with her is enough,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so yeah, I think about that a lot. And even for myself, I haven't lost parents yet, but I know eventually it may come because it's just inevitable, like what's that's gonna feel like,
Mm.
and that's hard. So I thought about you and like, man, like it's coming, it's coming. People are
Mhm.
getting sick, people are getting older, and it will come. And like, you know, what will I need? I have a friend, and I asked specifically because I have a good friend of mine who lost his mom last week, a man, and he's devastated. And I'm just checking in, talking, texting, and like, what do you need? I don't even know what I need right now. I have no
Yeah.
idea. And I'm just like, I want him to be okay, because yeah.
Well, well, that's the other thing in terms of like the support. I know with friends who've lost parents, who've lost children, who've lost siblings, that like, and being that friend or that relation who allows them and invites and asks after that their lost person. uh, Like, I have friends who've lost children, and I have another young friend who lost her mother. And my friends who've lost children, it's years and years and years, but I will still now
Mm, mm,
give them the opportunity to talk about their grief or talk.
mm,
I often say, like my dear friend Ty, whose son Kim died like 5 years ago, and I'll see him and I'll say, "How's Kim?" And he'll talk about Kim.
Mm.
And I'll say in the present, "How's Kim?" We have that language, so we are,
Wow.
I can't remember even having to establish that, but it just is like, still, I wanna. And my friend who lost her mum, she was only young and she lost her mum, and every time I see her, I check in. How's your grief? How's it going? How's your mom? And she knows
Mm.
I mean, how's your mom in your heart? And because you know what it's like with death. The first 3 months, everybody's bringing around
Oh,
casseroles,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and then it's over,
Quiet.
and then the loneliness kicks in.
Yes. Yes.
And then the final thing I'd say, which really helped with me with my mom, and now I will do this for all friends whose parents die, whether I knew their parents or not. So many friends came to my mom's funeral,
Mm.
and that I I had no idea what a difference that would make. Even if I didn't talk to them at the funeral, it was something about them being there and
Mm.
acknowledging this profound thing that happened to me that didn't mean anything to them.
Mm.
I mean, they knew her, but you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
from now on, whenever a friend's parent dies, whether I knew the parent or not, I attend the funeral
Mm.
for my friend. And
Mm.
that seems to be like a very good supportive action as well.
Yeah, that present. I mean,
Mm.
on my in bullet points is like, like be there physically, but also in the absence of the person, holding space to ask the person
Yeah.
how are you?
Oh,
With the yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
love that.
How's your love? Yeah, I think that's been.
Yeah.
And it's always beautiful, and we always, because I think people who've lost somebody, especially when it's a real tragedy like a child or something, they kind of think, oh no, nobody wants me to still be talking about that.
Mm.
But you want to talk about it, and you want to
Yes.
talk about it forever.
So it sounds like that
Yeah.
asking is like giving permission. Like,
Yeah,
I
even if
see.
it's
I
20
like
years
that. I
on.
love that. I love that. I'm gonna remember that always. That's great.
Yeah.
I like that. See, yeah. I asked the right. Yeah. Yeah. Um. And again, like I always think about like things that happen to us. Like you're giving me a gem that I can take home. In the future. So I'm grateful for that because I'm gonna. Yeah, I needed that. 100%.
Oh, good. Oh,
Thank you.
please, thanks for asking.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for being open, of course, as always.
Always,
Yeah.
always, likewise.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go because I know you're busy. It's been so good, but I just want to thank you
Thank you. Yeah.
for what you're doing.
And also thank you for asking. I mean, you like all the people I know, you're like the only person that asked me to do these. I'm like, great. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
I
mind.
like checking in.
I love
You're
it.
my
I love
friend.
it.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
You're my friend, and
Yeah.
I want to check in
I love this. Yeah.
and
Thank you.
so,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
It means a lot because I feel like I don't get to be on the platform a lot with, work and child. So this like gives me an opportunity to show up and like, connect with people who, I love and respect. So thank you.
Oh, it's mutual.
Likewise.
Before you go, why don't you just give a little shout out to Birmingham dads and just see if we've got 7
Yes.
people here in the
If anyone's
comments. So.
if anyone's in Birmingham, Alabama, and you're a dad and you're feeling alone, just Google Birmingham Dad Meetup. It'll come up. It's for fathers with young children looking for a place to hang out with their kids, and it's free. I like free. So,
Hey.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, love to your family.
Thank you so much. And hopefully we get to do this again soon.
I hope so soon. All
I'll talk.
right.
All right then.
Okay. Right.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.